Talk of the Town is up and running at Eau Claire, Wisconsin, USA. I'm Scott Montesano, and this is where the Chippewa Valley comes to talk. Hey, it's a great day on this Tuesday, last Tuesday of April, and we've got, as always, plenty to get to, including what is becoming, I still think, a fun, controversial topic with the potential of advertising on park benches. However, breaking news just before we started this recording, and it's good that it happened just before we started this recording, but breaking news for everybody out there. Stephanie Hirsch, Eau Claire City Manager, is resigning her position effective later today, which is Tuesday, April the 28th. She's resigning as of the end of business today on Tuesday. And it brings to an end a contentious run that she had as the city manager, brought in under odd circumstances, if you will. It was a bold choice by the city council at the time when they brought her on, as opposed to giving just Dave Solberg the position. She came on, almost immediately didn't make a lot of friends in the community, a lot of, I don't like using the term enemy, but was not well liked in the local community by a number of people. It is hard to find people that supported the job that she did. She did have supporters out there, as was evident by some social media responses we got here on a social media post about a week and a half ago, but in the end was not liked. And you may recall, beginning of the month, the discussions began. Her contract originally expired at the end of last April. It was extended by 1 year. Usually you don't do a 1 year extension because it can kind of make somebody lame duck. They gave her a 1 year extension, and then this month discussions were to, would we extend her again, or would the city council move on from her? And it was all delayed because it was supposed to happen last week. Actually, a couple weeks ago, you may remember, but the storms postponed a meeting and all that. So, long story short, city council got together on Monday night, had their closed-door meeting to go over her job performance, and were to vote today on Tuesday as to whether to extend the contract or not. And before that vote, she has resigned her position, which is, you and I are both big boys and girls, is clearly a case that at best she wasn't sure she was going to get a new contract, and more likely she knew she wasn't going to get a new contract. No doubt she had probably faced some criticism from city council members that questioned her a bit. There were a number of city councilors I know, having spoken to enough people in the know, that were ready to can her at multiple times over the last few years. It was surprising, stunning, that she very quietly and quickly got an extension last year. The tea leaves over the last month had led us all to believe she was going to get another extension because it was the path of least resistance. And the voting in the election of Jeremy Gregert seemed to strengthen the potential she was going to have to remain on as the Eau Claire city manager. But she has since resigned, and it is effective today. Jeremy Gregert, Eau Claire City Council president, putting out a statement saying, I want to sincerely thank Stephanie Hirsch for her 4 years of dedicated service to Eau Claire as the city manager. She is one of the most hardest working people I know, and I wish her the very best in her career and efforts to improve her community. Dave Solberg will be acting city manager again, pending further action by the city council on appointing an interim city manager and a recruitment process for the next city manager. So again, she has resigned her position. Does not have in her statement anything where she's got another job lined up yet. She may very well have another job lined up. We'll have to wait and see. But Dave Solberg, as he was before Stephanie Hirsch took over in the period between Dale Peters and when Stephanie Hirsch took over, Dave Solberg, as he was during the bulk of COVID, will be the city's acting city manager, likely will become the interim city manager, and we shall see if he, one, wants the job, which he wanted it the last time, and two, if he wants the job, does he get it this time? He would have been a very popular choice the last time, which is why we say it was a bold choice to go with Stephanie Hirsch. It was a big swing. We said it at the time of Stephanie Hirsch's hiring. It was a big swing. Let it play out. It was easy to criticize then the city council for making the pick when you had the easy pick right there, but they went with Stephanie Hirsch, and you said, all right, they took a swing. They swung and missed. This does not mean, to those that want to defend Stephanie Hirsch, that she was entirely wrong. The whole emails that she would send out, or Tess Morgan would send out every single week on the weekends, I think that's got to continue. Right away with Dave Solberg. They got to keep that up. The weekly emails out to the community. Whoever comes in, that should be a requirement for their position. But Stephanie Hirsch, no matter what you may say she was able to do behind the scenes, and she could very well be smart, but part of the job is communication, face-to-face, interacting with people, getting people to listen to you, getting to develop relationships with people. It is a little political. You have to. Like anything, any business is political. Life is political. Families are political in that end. And she had a very hard time developing those types of relationships in the area where people would trust her with what she said and say, you know what? Yeah, you're making a hard choice, but I believe you. I like your leadership. She couldn't get people to follow her. And is some of that the responsibility of us, the citizens? Yeah, but in the end, she's hired to get people to follow her. And she couldn't get people to follow her. A shocking development, though, because I was fully prepared. I can tell people right now, they were supposed to vote on Tuesday night. My expectation, as I think a lot of yours was, they were going to offer her a new contract. Maybe with, you got to do better here, but they were going to offer her a new contract, and we would have talked about it on Thursday about city council, for whatever reason, felt she was the best candidate still. But alas, she has resigned. And let's be honest, the term resignation is used a lot in this area. Tanya Anglin, the longtime Blue Gold women's basketball coach, technically resigned 2 months ago. You and I both know it was a firing. That's what it was. This, as I said, at best, she knew before the vote that it was going to be close. At worst, and most likely, she knew she wasn't going to get offered a position. So instead of facing the humiliation, if you will, of being fired, resigned. Very well, maybe got a feel on Monday night that she was not going to be offered. And it was kind of nudged her that, hey, you might want to resign instead. So Stephanie Hirsch has resigned, and will no doubt over the next few weeks and months go through the process of a new city manager. And by the way, save your breath on the whole mayoral system. That would take Should Eau Claire have a mayor? That's very much an argument that can be had in this area, but would involve statute changes in the city. I would say this. We never had this discussion the last time when there was a city manager. And it's a long process to make the switch. But if I was the city council right now, I would start having that discussion a little bit. Allow people, what would it look like if we did bring on a mayoral system? What would that look like? How could we go about doing it? You got to throw that out there, and maybe it's something the community by far would vote for. Maybe you have yourself a referendum for that. But that's another argument for another day. Stephanie Hirsch, first female city manager in city history, resigning after 4 years. She was hired at a time, as I said, she was a qualified candidate, but you already had somebody in position that was well-liked. It was a bold choice, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback and go, the city council really screwed that one up, and you knew quickly they'd screwed up on this. But I'm not going to fault them for hiring her in the first place. They took a swing, and, again, we're big boys and girls, right? When she was hired in 2022, think of society at that time. Think of society at that time. If you could find a qualified female candidate, and she was qualified, she didn't just get the job because she's a female. But what you had, and we said it at that time too, and it means even more true now, if you have a very qualified male, dare I say white male, in Dave Solberg, and a very qualified female, the tie was going to go to the female. It just was. All right? She didn't get it because she didn't deserve it. She wasn't qualified for the job. She absolutely was qualified for the job. But you will not convince me otherwise. If her name was Stephen Hirsch and she was a man, they would have just stayed with Dave Solberg. They just would have. You are not going to convince me otherwise. This hire had all those makings of it. It just did. But if she was only hired because of that, she would have been out of here a long time ago. She was qualified, just not the right fit, I think, for this community as it played out over the last 4 years. So stunning. This is stunning news that she resigned. And that she is out. So Stephanie Hirsch is out. We will follow this development as time goes on. All right. Want to get to this other story that was going to be our lead story up until the news of Stephanie Hirsch just before we started the recording. So a city poll, actually Stephanie Hirsch's email from this weekend, city poll has found broadly negative views on allowing advertising on city benches. This became a discussion point last week. We've been talking about the fiscal crisis our area is in, the city of Eau Claire is in. A mess, by the way, that Stephanie Hirsch is leaving behind. Everybody's looking for ways to cut costs, raise revenue, and advertising on city benches has been thrown out there. It is costly to maintain benches. Why not keep the benches up but sell some advertising on them? And a poll went out, and broadly negative views on this. As I said last week, I love the idea. Maybe tweaks here and there, but the concept itself, I love the idea. But a lot of you do not like it. And my question is, why? In a Shangri-La, yeah, there'd be no advertising and everything would be green and beautiful and lush and whatever. I get that. We do not live in a financial Shangri-La. We do not. You are ignoring all the stories over the last 2 months. Now, the easy answer is reasons given, which mostly boil down to aesthetics and people feeling they don't want to be constantly sold. The problem is these people don't get it. A lot of you, if you don't want the advertising on benches because you don't like the aesthetics and you don't want to be constantly sold, you're not getting it. We need to raise revenue. This is an easy and frankly still non-intrusive way of doing it. When was the last time you noticed a park bench? And if you're worried about having all these benches covered up with the stupid beard guy and his ambulance chasing law firm, you can put regulation as to how big the advertising is, what can it say on it, what can it look like. You can do that sort of thing. Who is against this? I think, you get images in your head. The reality is that anybody can be against this, but you get images in your head. I got the image of a crotchety old person who simply thinks the only way to fix the budget crisis is to fire everyone. They have no plan to raise revenue, and it's just easy to bitch. They're upset that the finances are in the toilet, and they don't like any idea to fix it, and they themselves don't have any idea except for the fact everyone's a crook. Bah! Another image in my head is of the artsy-fartsy person who has no problem with murals on the side of buildings that, frankly, it's debatable the ones that look good and the ones that are, frankly, ugly, because art is in the eye of the beholder. But this artsy-fartsy person thinks ads would take away the beauty. Yet this person likely also wants all the social services and then some. Who's paying for it? You had some people in the city poll say, I'll take higher taxes. I'll gladly pay higher taxes. What? That is a Marie Antoinette line of thinking. You do have people in this community, and this sort of thing brings it out, that when we talk about the financial crisis and keeping taxes low, they go, charge me more. You do have those people out there. Sort of a, if you don't like it, leave mentality. Which I don't like that. That's not part of us being a community. It's also got some other undertones that we will not address here. But you get it a lot at the federal level as well. Well, if you're so upset about the way things are being run, why don't you go to Canada? That old argument that you'll sometimes hear. Well, if you don't really like it here, why don't you go somewhere else? Why don't you go to Chippewa or whatever? That's not a good way of thinking. I'll agree. We have to pay to have things. Part of raising revenue. And it'd be nice if the city could maybe invoke a sales tax. Wisconsin's behind in that regard. But we are at a point where we are paying and still losing. The money can't keep up. This isn't about level of taxes and what have you. The way things are right now, we're spending $1 and we're getting 10 cents back in value. That's the problem we're having right now. We have to raise revenue. If you don't like this idea, that's fine. What's your idea? What I like about these ideas is I'm not paying for the benches. You're not paying for the benches. A business is paying to put their ads on the benches. They're the ones paying. And it could be you if you own a business or whatever, but you understand people that want to pay are paying. And what's so wrong with advertising? How many times do you hear, I don't know what's going on in the community. I didn't know this event was going on, or this was going on, or that was going on, or I haven't heard about this business. Want to know why? Because the only place you see a lot of advertising now is online, and you never see it. Because it's taking a blue marble and chucking it in the ocean. Everybody thinks, I'll just put it online. Small percentage see it. I think advertising the benches would have been a good idea, but a lot of you don't. And also, for those who say, and it came out again in the poll, and you heard it 3-4 weeks ago as well, you got a lot of people that are saying, well, this area's got great amenities. And we have to decide, one, do we want to pay for the amenities, and how much do we want to pay for the amenities? But Eau Claire's got great amenities. This is gaslighting. Talk about 2022 and the peak of wokeism, such a wokeism term. That's gaslighting. We're being gaslit when we're constantly told of the great amenities Eau Claire has. Hey, folks, we have lots of benefits in this community. I am not about to say this place is a crap hole. It is absolutely not. Eau Claire has a lot going for it, a lot in terms of quality of life. It has a lot of good things going for it. But, folks, you are either lying to yourself or you are naive. Our area does have good things, but we aren't some utopia in terms of what we have. You constantly hear people point, Madison's got a lot of great stuff. They've got a lot of great stuff. Appleton, Green Bay, they've got a lot of great stuff too. Brookfield, Wisconsin, a lot of the suburb communities of Milwaukee, outside of the state. There's a lot of great things in other communities. Some they do better than us. Some we do better, but these other places have got great amenities too. And if we do not keep growing, then we are dying. And I know for some of you out there, you're good with that. Because you're 50, 60, 70, 80, and you're good with that. It's the old cliche. Today's conservative is yesterday's liberal. And that's not just a political thing, it's a way of life. You wanted all this cool stuff, then you got it, and then you're good. That's what you want all this cool stuff to come in, you got it, now you're good. You'd be happy if there wasn't more growth in the area. Oh, sure, you say you want more growth, but you really don't. You hate the idea you might have to wait for 2 light changes on Claremont Ave now. Again, I think it was a great idea, the park benches. I would have loved that. Oh boy, do I want to talk more. I'm going to squeeze this in. So one last thing. Still going to squeeze this in today. So I was looking at the Eau Claire Foodies page. Always good for a laugh. And I won't call out this restaurant, but you can go on the page and dig through. It was from over the weekend. And it's not specific to this restaurant, but it's something you've heard a little bit throughout the course of any type of conversation, especially online. And before anybody asks, we're not bringing up at all the stuff that happened on Saturday night. But this is actually part of the whole discourse, and everybody keeps flinging arrows, and nobody at all will just take a knee on any of this and just go, you know what? Enough fighting back and forth. Yeah, you're right. My side has been bad. Just wear it. Say, my side has been bad. Don't take a shot at the other side and make them have to eventually admit that their side's been bad too. But why do that? But I saw this. This is grade A problem. People attacked a local restaurant because they put Fox News on their televisions. Now, I would be saying the same thing if it was the reverse. If a place had MS Now or maybe CNN or anything. My point is, whether it's a restaurant or any type of business, the stances they take can entirely determine whether you want to patronize a spot or not. We all know about that vile human being with that brewery and his whole thing. We know that. The vile person. Very happy the Democratic Party in the state came out and denounced him. Not all the candidates, though. There's some Democrats that support him, but the state party denounced that, said that the money isn't worth it. That's a vile human being. And yes, we can find other examples on the right as well. But if you know of there's an appliance guy, like down in Pepin or something, always does these radio ads in which basically calls out liberals and makes fun of liberals. If a restaurant or any type of business has a stance that you do not like, you entirely can not go to them. A lot of people do it with Chick-fil-A, for instance. That's totally up to you. And it's totally up to the business if they want to lean all in on some type of cause. That said, it is low-level thinking, lazy thinking. That's not you. You're smart. I might disagree with you on the park bench thing, but you're smart. You're listening to this show. It's low-level thinking for our neighbors. If you make decisions based solely on what a restaurant has on their TVs, you are a simple, functioning, lazy fool. In this case, people go into this restaurant, they've got Fox News on the TV. Bang, this person must be a mega redneck. We need to stop making lazy decisions. Not all who watch Fox News are extreme right, and vice versa. I go for walks almost every morning. And yes, you can see into people's houses. Nearly every one of them between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning are tuned to Fox News. Nearly every one. And I know for a fact not every one of them is a deep red Republican, noted by all of the signs, and a couple of them are very, very, very vocal in terms of their Democrat leanings with what they put on their front lawn. Yet everybody, Fox News is very popular for a lot of reasons. It is lazy thinking. You're taking pot shots. It's part of the bad discourse we have in this country to, one, simply go into a place, see they've got Fox News, and based totally off that, you're not going to support that restaurant. That's one. Two, it's trolling behavior to then go online when people are talking about this restaurant and they were having fun. The restaurant was doing something fun with somebody dressed as a chicken out in the corner of the street or something. And to use that post as your opportunity to then take a shot at them, and not just them, but anybody who may not be a liberal. By the way, the restaurant in question, I've eaten there once, and I wasn't fond of it. So I'm not sitting here like I know this. I've eaten at that place once, was not fond of it. But the place is a long-standing breakfast place in town, and I wish them the best. I will throw this out there for restaurants and businesses. Turn off the TVs. At this point, you don't need them. Because now I'm going to look at it from a restaurant perspective. Look at this. You got idiots out there. Turn off the TVs, or better yet, as I see from more businesses, utilize those TVs. They're monitors now. They're not just big blocky TVs like they used to be. They're mostly monitors anyway. Utilize them for graphics. Think of what Culver's does at their restaurants. They used to have TV on. Now they use them as monitors. Use them as monitors. Put ambiance there. I've seen a couple cool things where you've got ambiance of scenes and stuff. You can run through graphics. You can run through specials. Anything you want. It's very easy to do with a USB. 10, 15 years ago, you needed TVs on. Now you don't, because everybody's got a phone in their hand anyway. The only time you need TVs is if you're a sports bar, in my opinion. If you're a bar, sports bar, but at a restaurant, you don't need TVs anymore. It's pointless. Stupid. You're not going to gain anything from it. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Talk of the Town. We'll be back with you on Thursday. We will see what fallout comes from the stunning resignation of Stephanie Hirsch. On behalf of everyone who made this podcast possible, I'm Scott Montesano, saying there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. Make sure to take advantage of it. And until next time, so long, everybody.